Welcome back to Breaking Bias. In this section, I want to delve a little bit more into your paradigm, right? So what is it that created your paradigm? How did that get formed? How did your worldview, or what impacted your worldview, and what is impacting your worldview today? And so I want to get right into this concept of this idea of our early paradigm. And I have a specific question that I want to ask. What did you learn growing up? Right. So what did you learn growing up? And so why is that important, Andre? Because many of us grew up in specific contexts that gave us a specific worldview. We grew up in a specific time that gave us a particular way of looking at the world. Some of us grew up inside the United States or outside of the United States, and all of these things have a major impact on our paradigm. And so, what I'd like for you to do is to walk with me through this exercise. And if you've downloaded the PDF, that's great. If you haven't, you can just do it on a piece of paper, do this activity on a piece of paper. You can also do it right on the screen. For those of you who are watching this live, just go ahead and do that on the screen. And what I'd like for you to do is to tell me what you learned growing up. So the groups on the left in the light blue column are groups that try to provide you information for the groups in gray across the top. And if the groups on the left taught you or told you or had discussions about groups across the top that were positive, right? That were positive, I want you to put a plus in the corresponding box. If the groups on the left taught you, said, or encouraged you to have negative conversations, I want you to put a minus in the corresponding box. If the groups on the left never talked about anything, these are things that you've never really talked about or experienced, I want you to put a 0 in the corresponding box. Now, you can have pluses and minuses in the same box, but size matters, right? So lots of positives would be a big plus, and and a little bit of negative would be a small minus. And so when we think about these things, I want you to look at filling out this matrix, this card with pluses, minuses, and zeros. And I'll give you just a couple of seconds to do that. And so if you can pause the video, take as much time as you want, that's great. We're going to move on to kind of talking about that. And so what I'd like for you to do is to think about, what do you have pluses in, what do you have minuses in, and what do you have zeros in? And why do you think that might be? What is what were the driving forces to those pluses, minuses, and zeros? And is there a particular category like TV, movies, and media where you may have lots of zeros or lots of minuses? And what do those pluses look like from your personal experience? And so as you think about that, I'd like for you to either journal, write with us, click your responses in the chat room for, why do you think that exists, and what were you thinking as you were going through this process? All right. So what were you thinking as you were going through this process of putting pluses, minuses, and zeros? And, but before we go, I just want to stress that wherever you grew up, under whatever circumstances you were raised, what you don't know is not your fault. What they did not teach you is not your fault. What you whatever that context was not your fault. However, now that you are at the age of accountability, it is now your responsibility to recognize what you need to be effective, as well as to create an atmosphere where other people can be effective as well, right? And so what you grew up, or who you grew up around, or who you didn't grow up around, and what time you grew up, and what decade you were in, what generation, it may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility to to be effective and to create an atmosphere where others can be effective. So I want to say thank you so much for joining us in this lesson. My name is Andre Koen. I can't wait to see who you become, and we'll see you next lesson. All right. Bye.